Thanks, Hillary. Once more, I welcome everyone to the spaces. I see also Professor Kivutha Kibwana. If he would like to speak, we would be more than welcoming him to come and speak. I welcome Kasmel, Makoure, and all the Gen Zs on the platform. It is Kasmel and his colleagues and the heroes that died that have inspired not just Kenya, but the entire African continent and the entire world with their bravery, with their clarity and eloquence. It's very, very important, as I always say, the youth are the motors of change. And we have seen it in real time in Kenya for the last 1 month. It's quite inspiring. I wanted to say a few things preliminarily. I believe Professor Chieng has not been attending our spaces weekly. This point has been made repeatedly, that when we say Ruto must go, we don't mean Ruto the person. It is a clarion call that symbolizes a demand by the people for the overhaul of the system, including the removal of Ruto the person, the head of the regime of Kenya Kwanza, and the entire political oligarchy in Kenya. So Ruto must go is not a clarion call directed at the individual, but it symbolizes what the people of Kenya are opposed to. The system of corruption, plunder, the system of nepotism and tribalism, the system of banditry, the system of abductions and mass murders of innocent Kenyans, the system that abrogates everyone's right and subverts the constitution, the system of lawlessness and land grabbing from the time of the flag independence in 1963 up to now. They are institutionalizing this system. That is why, actually, they have already institutionalized it. That's why when Ruto was put to a corner, it did not take long for Raila Odinga and his cohorts to come out of nowhere to start propping him up. And now they think they are fortifying well enough for him to go on rooftops and start lecturing people. I can see the arrogance that was there before June 25th has actually returned, with David D and the rest going back to insulting Kenyans and the Gen Zs. They call them Gen Goons and other things. I would want us to reaffirm our commitment to this movement and to the revolutionary transformation agenda that the Gen Zs represent and have articulated. And we cannot do that if we don't organize and mobilize. Yes, this revolution has been and continue to be leaderless, tribeless, and organic. But it has to crystallize in terms of mobilization of all sectors of the Kenyan society, because no revolution can leave any generation, any gender, any class, or any region behind. We have to carry as many people as possible. So last week I talked of the broad-based movement where we are going to, and we must include all these factions and all these permutations of the movement so that we can win. We don't want to wait for 2027. It would be a tragedy if we allow this cabal to continue to be in power up to 2027. Kenya will be no more, because as it is, They have already bankrupted it. So I think if people wait until 2027, Kenya will be waiting for burial. So the ballot is not a revolutionary pathway in a neocolonial state. Kenya is a neocolonial state controlled not just by the cabal who are domestic, who live in Kenya and operate in Kenya, but by the Western imperialist interests. So election is just a choreographed coronation of the cabals. We recycle them, one faction after another, but the system never changes. What they do don't change. Our interests and our rights don't change. And therefore, it would be an exercise in futility to wait until 2027. So I have seen people are talking about Nane. But last week I said the best way to remove this system and to defeat Ruto and his collaborators is to have a daily protest. It's not materialized, but it is what I am still calling for. Having these breaks and letting the security forces to go and rearm and reheal and recoup and reorganize is counterproductive. So I will be keen to listen to what people are saying in terms of the real concrete tactical input towards this realization. What is it that we need to do other than just saying it? How do we get people to stay on the street day after day until the regime collapses? What do we need to do logistically? How much in terms of resource mobilization do we need for water, for floods, for tents, for medical camps, for whatever it is that we need for daily protests to materialize? The students in Bangladesh have done a great job, but they're just students. In fact, the Bangladeshi protests have not been the entire population or generation like in Kenya. It's just university students. And look at what they have done, even amidst a lot of brutality. So in Kenya, we are lucky that we have a more broad-based mass of people who are disgusted by what we've had and have come out on the street. In Bangladesh, they are not even demonstrating because of corruption. They are demonstrating because of the reservation of 50% of jobs for veterans, minorities, and people with disabilities. In Kenya, the problem is worse. So people need to be more angry and to be able to come up with strategies and tactics of removing this regime faster than some of us are seeing. Thank you very much, Hilary. That's all I wanted to say initially.
Thank you so much for that call for, and you answered the Professor Cheng. I think you have had that, and the clear information is out there. Kasamwed Makowure, good evening again, bro. How are you doing? And
I'm extremely happy. I want to give just two ideas. We can have more than 1 million people on Nane or on the day of the vetting or the day of the swearing in of Ruto's illegitimate CSS. If we do this is very simple. Right now, maybe over 100,000 people have been listening to our broadcast. So let's assume we've been 140,000 people listening today. If each one of us was to convince 10 people, each one of us, just 10 people. So we give ourselves a task of convincing 10 people to attend any of these marches on any designated day, but specifically on Nane, which is the 8th of August, 2024. We will have 1.4 million people on the streets. So we can do it. It's very easy to do. You don't have to think of a crowd. Each one of us can just say, I'm going with 10 people, or I'm convincing 10 people to attend the march. You can do it from abroad, you can do it from any country, you can do it when you are in Kenya. It's just a telephone call away, a text message away. You must know at least 10 people that will be able to attend if you convince them to do so. And this thing will be over. We will be able to achieve what everyone, or well, at least the regime, may be deluded into thinking we cannot achieve. The last point, let us not get into our heads anything to suggest that the regime is strong, that the regime has strategies. This regime is bankrupt intellectually, bankrupt strategically, bankrupt tactically, and bankrupt financially. They don't have ideas. If you see the people they are appointing, then you know they have no ideas. They don't get it. We have said we don't want corrupt people. Those are the people they are appointing. We have said we don't want conmanship. They are involved in conmanship. We have said we don't want a system that borrows and makes us pay odious debt. And that's where they are. We have told them not to violate the Constitution. They continue to violate the Constitution. Therefore, this regime, and Ruto specifically, are irredeemable. That should make everybody angry. Let's be angry enough to say enough is enough, finally, so that we can look back to 2024 as the great year of liberation. It's happened in different countries at different times, and we can do it in Kenya. Let's do it for the future generations. I'm proud of the Gen Zs and the millennials and the Gen Zote. Viva! 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 Thanks, Dr. Terry. Kingsman, let's take 2 minutes.